Pelican Bay Supermax prison in California. It's one of the highest security prisons in the United States of America and home to some of the world's most dangerous criminals. The perfect place to hang out and do a bit of research for a novel.
Well, our next guest did time behind bars alongside the prisoners, the majority of whom are serving life without parole, in an effort to paint a vivid picture of the prison for his latest novel, Deadlock. Author Sean Black joins us this morning. Sean, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Sean, you did take research probably above and beyond the call of duty for most people. This is kind of Daniel Day-Lewis stuff. This is method research.
Method research.
So you went. Tell us where you went and tell us what you did.
Right. For the second book in the Ryan Locke series, Deadlock, I went to a prison, as you said in the introduction, called Pelican Bay, and it's quite interesting because even a lot of Americans aren't aware of Pelican Bay and they're not aware of the nature of it. And the kind of broadest way of describing it is by one statistic, and that is that Pelican Bay holds 3,500 male inmates. 75% of those 3,500 inmates are serving life without possibility of parole. So it was one of the first purpose-built Supermax prisons. And you would end up at Pelican Bay, not necessarily because of the crimes you've committed, although that's a factor, but because you've been disruptive elsewhere in the California penal system.
So these are the most violent of the
most violent, the most disruptive, and also it's kind of it's headquarters to the main prison gangs in California. So Mexican Mafia, Aryan Brotherhood, Black Guerrilla Family, and these are huge multi-million-dollar criminal enterprises. And these men, the men who are not on death row, which is at San Quentin, are housed in the secure housing unit at Pelican Bay. And
did you interact with them? Did you spend proper time with them?
Well, it's interesting because the publisher and the marketing for the book said I was going to do time, and just to clarify, if there's any guards watching, I didn't actually do time in Pelican Bay. There's two rules when you go inside Pelican Bay, I was told. One was I wasn't allowed to speak directly to the prisoners.
Okay.
And there are good security reasons for that, and also I suspect there are public relations reasons for that. Because Pelican Bay has been criticised by organisations like Amnesty International for its treatment of prisoners in solitary. And then the other rule was you wouldn't have got in because you're wearing the colour blue. And if you wear the colour blue, you are not allowed inside the institution.
Is it a gang colour or something?
No, the reason is that's the colour the inmates wear. And so, number one, there could be a problem with an escape attempt. And secondly, and they didn't tell me this, I only found this out afterwards, if they have an incident on the yard, and I was on the yard with inmates, and they have to shoot someone, because they're using live ammunition from the gun tower, and they actually used it the week before I was there. Obviously, they don't want to shoot a visitor, because that's really bad public relations.
So if you're wearing blue and you're going the wrong place and they open fire, tough luck.
Exactly. So what I did was, as soon as they told me, I went out and I got the reddest possible sweatshirt that I could.
Do they routinely shoot people? Does that happen?
Well, I mean, the riot they had the week before was quite unique. I mean, I actually spoke to a US Marshal who's in charge of court security, and he'd never heard of this situation. And what happens in Pelican Bay is that the prisoners segregate themselves very strictly by race, very, very strictly. So, as they informed me, a white inmate who mixes with black prisoners is considered lower than a child molester. If you can imagine that, it was quite shocking when they told me. So they had a young man.
Your tribe.
Yes, and obviously the inmates understand that people have associations out with, but once you're inside Pelican Bay, those are the rules set by the prison gangs.
So you must hang out with those of your own race.
Yeah, and if you don't, as happened to one young man the week before, he'd come in. He was a white inmate, but he was a member of the Crips, which is a predominantly African American street gang. So obviously, when they get inmates to process, they strip them down. They look at what they call their ink, their tattoos, and they can tell pretty much what crimes they've committed, what associations they have. And they told him, look, this is going to create a problem. And he decided no, he was going to be fine. And they showed me the footage of what happened to him. And what was quite striking about it, in comparison to, say, Glasgow on a Saturday night or Dublin on a Saturday night when people have an altercation, in Pelican Bay, there is no, I believe the term in Glasgow is pavement dancing. there is no warning, there is no lead-up, because their intention is to cause maximum physical damage to that person. So literally it was two members or associates of the Aryan Brotherhood walked next to him, and then they attacked. And then it became a fairly serious incident. And they showed me the footage, and they said, "Did you see the puff of dust?" And I said, "No," and they pulled the footage back, and that was the first live round from the tower. So they have one warning shot, and then they start to take people out.
So how much damage, or how many people were hurt in this? Was anybody killed?
There was no one killed, very fortunately, because there was no weapons, which is actually quite rare, because one of the things they do, or they spend a lot of time when they spend a lot of time in their cells, is they spend a lot of time manufacturing weapons, and even going into solitary. I mean, I had to wear body armour going into solitary, because even though they're behind bars, they occasionally will try to spear visitors or guards. They make spears in their cell, and they
Were you scared in there?
Anyone who walks into that prison and says they aren't nervous is a liar.
Because you're describing it, I'd be absolutely terrified.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the research, and for the first book, Lockdown, I trained as a bodyguard, and obviously I did the prison visit for this. And the thing about the research is, before you go and do it, it's fantastic. You get to tell everyone, I'm going to train as a bodyguard, I'm going to go to Pelican Bay, and of course afterwards, sitting here, it's great because it's interesting to discuss. On the actual morning, I was driving to Pelican Bay.
You're thinking, what the hell am I doing?
Exactly, that's exactly what I was thinking.
But it's paid into the book.
Well, obviously. Tell us about the book. I mean, this is a part of it. Is it a three-part series?
We'll probably go beyond that, but certainly,
it's going well,
the deal initially was for 3 parts. And
Ryan Locke is your hero, hence the lockdown.
Exactly.
Okay, now he's an ex-military man.
Yep.
Security consultant, and his job in this instance is to go into prison to protect one of these people.
Yes, exactly. The premise of the book is that there is a man inside Pelican Bay called Frank Reaper Hayes, who's a leading member of the Aryan Brotherhood. He's about to testify against his fellow gang members, but they don't know it yet. And so they have to, basically the federal authorities have asked Ryan Locke to go in to make sure that he stays safe, because not only is he going to testify, but he refuses to go into solitary confinement. And the way the American legal system works is that you have to tell the defence 5 days before the identity of the witness.
Disclosure.
And so basically the pitch for the book is that Ryan Locke has to keep him alive for 5 days in a place where, out of 3,500 inmates, 3,499 have a very good reason to see this man dead. So it's the ultimate bodyguarding job.
So fast-paced, thriller.
Very fast-paced.
Yeah.
Can I just, actually, there's a lovely
Great
quote
premise
on the back
for the
of
book.
Actually, is it on the front of it? Sean Black writes with the pace of Lee Child and the heart of Harlan Coben. Or Coben, I beg your pardon. So therefore, there you go. And I saw a lovely quote from the Daily Mail as well, too. They seem to think that you've got a very bright and successful future ahead of you.
I hope so.
Sounds like it. Where are you going to go and do research next, Sean? Wherever you go, come back and tell us about it.
I will. I'll come back and tell you. If I survive,
If you survive,
I'll be back on the sofa.
Well, you only put the first one out earlier on this year. This is 2 books in a year.
Well, the first one was out in hardback last year, and then it was out in paperback. We've done very well. We made top 50 with the first one, and I think fingers crossed, we'll do top 10 next year for the paperback of Deadlock.
Well, congratulations.
Good on you, sir. Good luck.
We'll see you again soon, no doubt.